Hey YouTube, it's Guy. Today on the review table, we're checking out some Casio dive watches. They are model MRW-200H. The MRW-200H is a $15 to $20 dive style watch made by Casio. Now I call it a dive style watch because these probably aren't robust enough or high enough quality to really be considered diver watches. Certainly they're good enough to do swimming, snorkeling, things like that, but if I were scuba diving and my life depended on my wristwatch, these would not be the ones that I'd choose. That said, I still think that they're really good watches, and yeah, I just wanted to show them off to you and tell you what I think about them. So on the table we have two versions of it. First things first, here's the box that comes in your standard cardboard Casio box. The watch is inside there on a little stand. I'm not going to really bother opening it up. It's pretty basic, but I just thought I'd show it to you in case you bought one, if you had any questions about how it should have come. This is how both of mine arrived. So we'll go ahead and get the box off of the table here and jump in closer and take an in-depth look at these two watches. Alright guys. So again, what we're looking at here is the Casio MRW-200H. This watch comes in numerous different styles. I have two of them on the table today. There's the one on the left here, which has all of your standard Arabics on a black dial. It also comes in numerous colors. The one on the right here has circle pips for the markers with batons at 6 and 9 and sort of a baton hybrid triangle thing at 12 o'clock. There's also another style that has only markers at 12, 6, and 9, if I'm not mistaken, with some sort of pips or markers at the other positions, but I didn't end up getting one of those. Unfortunately, I didn't realize it was an option until after I ordered these. But regardless, there's, I don't know, 15 or 20 different styles of this watch, so a whole bunch of options for you to pick from. That's one of the nice things about these watches. Now I'll give you the basic specs on these watches, as I always do in my watch reviews. The case diameter on these guys, 44.6 millimeters in diameter is their advertised spec. So yeah, we'll call it 44.5 roughly. The thickness on this, I believe, is around between 11 and 12 millimeters. I couldn't find a definitive answer on that, and I couldn't find my calipers to measure it, so I'm sorry. But it's not particularly thick. Call it under 12 millimeters in thickness. The lugs, as you can see, I took the black dialed version off of its strap and put it on a Nato strap. The lugs are 18 millimeters, so if you want to do that and mix it up with some Nato straps or anything else, 18 millimeters is going to be your lug width. The crystal on these guys are just a standard mineral crystal. Honestly, I was surprised to see that in the specs that it was mineral crystal. I was expecting it to be an acrylic or plastic or some other material, but specs do list that it is a mineral crystal. Seems good, decent enough, no complaints about it. The bezel on these watches are bi-directional bezels, meaning that they spin in both directions. That's a deviation from your standard dive watch functionality. It's a safety feature on most dive watches that will only spin in one direction. That these spin in two directions can be both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in that it's easier if you want to actually use it to track elapsed time, but it also negates some of the potential safety mechanisms by being bidirectional. And that's the main reason why I would not consider this to be a true scuba watch or a true dive watch. The watch is, however, 100 meter water resist, so you should have no problems doing things like swimming, snorkeling, or any other water activities. Just when it comes to the, pure safety of having a functional watch that you can trust while scuba diving, I just wouldn't scuba dive with it personally. Your mileage may vary. I think there's better options out there if you're truly doing scuba diving with an air tank. The display is a 3-hand analog display. It does have a day and date complication at the 3 o'clock position. The case and the strap are a plastic or resin case, and the movement is a Japanese quartz movement. It's module 5125. It uses an SR626 SW battery. The battery should be good for about 3 years, and the accuracy on this movement is plus or minus 20 seconds per month. So, quartz accuracy, excellent. That's basically the specs on these watches. Let's go ahead and here talk about some of the specifics design things. First things first, do you need a dive watch? If you want an actual dive watch, I want to say that while this is a nice $15 watch, I'd call it an excellent $15 watch. It is not, again, in my opinion, a true dive watch. I would consider at least jumping up to the previously reviewed, if you want to check it out, Casio MDV-106. It comes in at a price point of around $45 to $50, and I think you would be better served with a watch like that at a minimum if you were truly looking for a dive watch. Again, that watch was previously reviewed. I encourage you to check out that video if you're shopping around for Casio watches or dive watches. But the MDV-106 is an excellent watch in its own right, although it is upwards of 3 times the cost of these watches. If you're truly on a budget and you're looking for a sub $20 watch, though, these are great choices. Now, again, I have 2 variations. We'll look at the black dialed one a little bit closer first. You can see we have Arabic numerals 1 through 12, and then an inner track for 24-hour numerals 13 through 24. Again, the day and date over there at 3 o'clock. Water resist 100 meters is printed on the dial towards the 6 o'clock position. There is a chapter ring around the outside with hash marks for each of your second and or minute markers. And the main minute markers are sort of embellished or a little bit bigger, I guess. The rotating bezel, again, it is bi-directional. So what we have here is it'll spin counterclockwise. It'll spin clockwise. Most dive watches don't do that. Most dive watches only spin counterclockwise as a safety mechanism for when you're underwater. And also I should mention that these spin freely. There is no spring or click action to them, which is a common feature on normal dive watches with an elapsed time bezel. So this spins pretty easily. It's snug, it's tight, but I think there is the potential of accidentally bumping it. That said, setting it is, straightforward. You set your 12 o'clock marker to where your minute hand is, like so, and as the minute hand goes, you can see how much time has elapsed. Once the clock were to show the time of 3:30, we would know that 5 seconds has passed. At 3:35, we would know that, or did I say seconds? Minutes. At 3:35, we would know that 10 minutes have passed, so on and so forth. That's basics of a elapsed time bezel, and this one works just like any other elapsed time bezel. So it's useful, it's just not embedded with the inherent safety mechanisms of most dive watches. But being as how that it doesn't have that clicky, springy action, you can line it up perfectly, exactly where you want it. You could line it up in between minute markers, you could line it up directly on the minute markers. With a dive watch that has like 120 clicks, sometimes there's misalignment issues, so you can't get perfect alignments. That's not an issue with this particular watch. The case, as I did mention, is all resin. I'm sure that there's probably some sort of maybe shell inside, I'm guessing. You do have a screw-on case back, which I'll show you on the other one. It'll be easier to see. The bezel is also a plastic or a resin with just, the painted numerals around it. The crown does have crown guards, but it is not a screw-down crown. It's just your standard crown with 2 positions. Pull it out to the first position to set the day and date. Pull it out to the second position to set the time. Now, like I said, I did take the strap off of this watch and put it on a Nato strap. It works very nice. It's a good option if you had smaller wrists because the strap on, the standard strap that it comes with is quite long, if I'm being honest. So if you're a smaller wristed person, you're going to have a ton of extra tail hanging off the end of your watch. Now we'll take a closer look at the white dialed one if you're interested in that. The white dialed one, instead of having numerals at all, just has circular pips at all of the positions with the exception of batons at 6 and 9, and then sort of this hybrid triangular baton up at the 12 o'clock position. On both of these watches, they have more or less the same handset, although I find that the handset on this particular one is a little bit more legible. If we look at them side by side, you can see that there's just the black outline on the handsets, particularly the hour hand. I don't know, it's just easier for my eye to pick it up, in my opinion. But I think I might prefer the Arabic numeral layout of the black dial better. So, it's personal taste or preference. You may agree with me on that one. You may disagree. You may like one of the versions that I don't have here on the table. There's just so many to choose from. That's the nice thing about it. Again, we want to look at the case back real quick. It is a screw-on case back. You have 4 screws at the top, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. On the case back, you can see the Casio branding, movement module rather, 5125, the model number MRW-200H, stainless steel case bag, water resistant 10 bar, Japanese movement, cased in China. So yeah, if you want to change your batteries, you're going to have to remove that to get to the battery compartment. To remove the strap, if you decide you want to do that like I did, there's just some spring bars in there. You need to get in there with a spring bar tool, pry those spring bars away, and the strap pops right off. Pretty simple and straightforward. Same exact elapsed time bezel on this version as on the black dialed version, with the exception of the highlighted 12 o'clock marker being in red on the one on the left, but basically the exact same bezels. These are, again, quartz watches, and you can see at the top there under the Casio branding it says quartz, and because of that they are inherently accurate, like I said, plus or minus 20 seconds per month. So for people that care about the accuracy of their watches and don't enjoy the fact that most mechanical watches are going to need to be reset frequently as the accuracy drifts away from your current time setting, this is, or any quartz watch really is a good option for you. Now, these watches are loomed. On the white dialed one, all of the pips in the handset are loomed. On the black dialed one, all of the numbers in the handset is loomed. I don't think that the loom on Casio watches in general is very good. It's bright enough to be legible for a little while, but it doesn't last very long. And you can probably see, I'll roll in a video of me illustrating the loom. Just as I was filming the video for a minute or so, the loom was fading so quickly that you couldn't even hardly read the dial anymore. It just fades that quick. I suppose if your eyes are not adjusted, maybe, I can't say does it last for hours, I don't know. I'm guessing it probably does. I'm guessing if you're in pitch black, maybe if you were sleeping with the watch on and you woke up in the middle of the night and just looked down at your wrist, potentially your eyes would be so unadjusted to light that just by virtue of the fact that there being any loom at all, it would still be legible. I can't really say. I haven't tested that personally, but the loom isn't all that great. Certainly not nearly as good as the loom on Seiko watches or a number of other brands. I'm going to go ahead and zoom the camera out here to give you a better look at the straps on these guys, so give me 1 sec. So as you can see on the white dialed version, I still have the original resin strap on it. It's a nice strap. It's very typical for a Casio strap. It's comfortable. I like them. Very flexible, but they appear to be quite durable. The buckle is black plastic or resin, probably plastic buckle with Casio's signature there. On the back side, it does have these little grooves so that the keeper doesn't slide around as easily when it's fastened. That's nice on both sides. Typical strap for a Casio watch, particularly at this price point. Now again, on the black dialed version, I took the strap off and I just put this 18mm Nato Strap. Clockwork Synergies, I believe, is the manufacturer of this strap. I've reviewed their products in the past. I like their products quite a bit. They make decent, affordable Nato straps. The nice thing about putting a Nato strap on this is if you're maybe a lady or very small-wristed, the strap that comes on it, the resin strap, is quite long. And while the Nato strap is quite long too, as I'm sure you're aware, once you fasten this to the wrist and loop it through the keepers, instead of having all of this extra tail here, you fold it back over. And so you can have a ton of extra material, and you can fold it over so that it stays out of the way. So keep that in mind, that even if you have a small wrist and you wanted to wear maybe a bigger watch with a bigger dial, but the default strap didn't work, here's an excellent option. So many different style Nato straps. You could go plain black or any myriad of different colors, so there's a good option for you. In comparison, I did want to talk about one other thing. Here is the ever popular digital Casio F-91w. This is about a $10 or $12 watch. Now, if you were looking for an affordable watch and you said, Guy, which one of these two would you pick? And by the way, this F-91w is previously reviewed. If you're interested in seeing that video, check it out. I don't know, it's just basically more or less the same price point, $10, $15, but close enough where it's like, yeah, they're basically the same price. Which would you pick? For me, I would pick one of the diver watches. I don't know if I would pick this white dialed version, the black dialed version, or maybe one of the other ones. Maybe all of them at this price point, and I have quite a collection of Casio watches. This one does have a much smaller dial or face, so if you're, again, smaller wristed, maybe you would prefer something like that. But I think aesthetically I prefer the look of this sort of diver style watch. But I did want to show those side by side because people might be curious if they're shopping around for an inexpensive Casio watch. How do these look? How do these compare to one another? Both excellent, both more or less the same price point, both perfectly acceptable watches for sub $20. I mean, you can't beat either of them, but you know, they're two totally different styles, so different options. But yeah, I thought it would be cool just to show you those two watches side by side, along with, I'll give you a quick look maybe at these two side by side as well. Yeah, I don't know. I like the diver style a bit better. I find this Casio F-91w to be a little small, in my opinion. But anyway, you know, your mileage may vary. Alright guys, well basically that's all I wanted to show you today was a couple of these watches. These Casio watches, again, model number MRW-200H. I appreciate you tuning in and checking out the video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below in the comments section. Check out the notes section below this video if you'd like to find links to my social media accounts, my Patreon account if you'd like to support the channel, as well as links to these watches on Amazon if you're going to buy them. If you go through my affiliate link, I get a small commission, which helps the channel out. I appreciate that. Alright guys, I'm going to sign off for now. I will catch you probably next week with another review video of some sort. Bye.